to say something controversial to follow up on our discussion with Sean Salisbury. I think part of it is you have to like to run. You have to derive satisfaction from a damn good running play. And again, it's a passing league. We all know this regardless. I just don't think it excites them. I don't. I think that's part of it. That you can get, I think, as much of a coaching high, sustaining a drive with a damn good run call as you can, 26-yard pass over the top. That's more exciting. But what's more effective? Well, actually, you need both. That's the point. Because you know what both does? You know what that run does? It sustains the drive, and then it gives you 4 more plays to fling it around as part of the deal. I really think that's part of the issue. Interesting stuff from him. Now, we were expecting a phone call to the hotline here, and hopefully we'll get it any time from Wolves point guard Mike Conley. That was scheduled. We may try to reach out to Wolves officials. If you're around Mike Conley right now, let him know we're looking for him because we'd love to chat with him. Wolves, I think, are back in action, NBA Cup stuff, tomorrow night against the Sacramento Kings, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't get to a good question for Sean because he was on a roll. And it was back when we were chatting about McCarthy, and someone had asked, looks like this is is this 6'5" guy? I think it's 6'5". Yeah. Could you ask Sean if he would agree that we need to get JJ out of the pocket and moving around bootleg style? Athletic kid, feel like against the Ravens there are a few opportunities he could have capitalized on with his legs. Yeah, I mean, in the end, you have to be able to throw from the pocket, but can you occasionally loosen things up by moving him around a little bit? Yeah, if he can throw okay on the run, which he hasn't always done all that well this season. Indeed, we have Mike Conley has checked in, and if you have questions for him, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Mike joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. You got I think another NBA Cup game tomorrow night, right, against Sacramento. So we probably have talked about this before. Give me an honest sense of how the players view this whole concept. You know what it's about. You know what the objective was. Is it getting there? Is it going to take 5 to 10 years to get there, or is it not getting there at all?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I think for the gravity and the, what, importance of it is, and just kind of letting it develop into that, because, we're kind of on the forefront, one of the first groups to do it. It makes it a little bit, tougher because it's mid-season, it's different, and you're just not used to having to prepare in that way. But, it's, something I think we're all trying to adjust to, but at the same time, we want to try to just be playing our best basketball regardless of the cup game or not.
Well, one of the things I think you said, in fact, to that question to the media group was, at this early juncture of the season, we're trying to find ourselves. That's pretty much what I think every team, maybe except for Oklahoma City, honestly, they're amazing. Right. But pretty much everybody else, that's, even if you've had success the previous year, you sort of have to recreate it, right? And maybe in a little bit different form than it was the season before. And I feel like that's kind of where you guys are at right now.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, every year is different, regardless of how many guys you bring back. Things change, players improve, players get older, young guys get new opportunities, dynamics of teams change, and you just have to try to adjust to that as quickly as you can as the season goes on. And for us, it's, refining our identity and who we want to be early. And, that's why I say the cup game, regular season game, no matter what it is, I think we're just trying to get to a level where we're, playing at our best and doing that as quickly as possible.
Your job is to not pay attention to who you're playing, just, play the next game that's in front of you. And lately, I feel like, especially offensively, and maybe even defensively in terms of at least some improvement, we've seen a change. The skeptic would say, well, yeah, but let's see when you're playing at Denver. Let's see when you're playing better teams. New York, where it didn't go real well defensively there. What do you see? Do you see anything starting to come together in the way you've dispatched some teams that you're kind of supposed to dispatch, where you haven't sort of played down to the level of the competition? What do you see most recently?
I thought we've approached these games in a real professional manner. I think the starting guys go out there and they kind of set the tone. They get us off to a really, really good starts, and exactly what we need in games like that, where you don't want to be, sleepwalking into a game or having to play from behind on the road. And it doesn't matter, who you're playing, but it's always good to get off to a good start and kind of approach the game with that kind of, mindset. And I think, Ant, Julius, Dante, Rudy, all those guys have really kind of set the table for us, in those types of situations.
Is there any chance, it looks to me like it's gone really good offensively, much better than it has defensively start to finish, with some exception. And, there was a lot of talk in training camp of, we want to get back to being the best defensive team in the league, as you guys were a couple of seasons ago. But as you say, every season's different. Players change and evolve a little bit. Is it possible that we're going to learn that the number one strength of this team might be offense more than defense? Is that possible? And can you get away with it that way, or thinking of it that way?
Like we just talked about, I think each season you come back different. And in the years past, obviously we've hung our hat defensively, and we still believe in that as a core principle of who we want to be. But two things can be true. We can also improve offensively. We can, be a team that people worry about on that end, even more so than defense. But we want our defense to be in line with that offense. If we can get a top 10 offense and defense, you're kind of in the money. You can do something with that. But we don't necessarily want to be a team that's a top 5 or 10 offense and bottom half to the back end defense. I don't think we'll have as much success as we can kind of marriage the two together. So we're still trying to make that happen and get our defense back playing at that level that we feel like we can sustain. What
have you seen? The Julius Randle numbers have been outstanding this season. Everything looks, I think, even better than it was when he came back from injury last year. He looks to me really live, fresh, decisive. What do you see?
Yeah, he's playing at obviously a really high level. He's playing with just a level of focus, I think, that has kind of carried down to the rest of the team. The way that he approaches the games, the way he prepares for games, what he's doing in the games to get guys involved, and kind of help carry the team in different ways offensively. Has been really impressive, because he takes a lot of attention when he's playing, and with that comes the responsibility of making making guys better around you. And I think he's doing both of those things, while obviously his game is showing so much improvement and stuff like that. But for our team, it's been even more so of an impact, just being able to utilize his full skill set.
Wolves point guard Mike Conley, kind enough to join us. Dante has obviously been starting, and there's a lot of talk. Well, then does that mean he's the point guard? When you're not playing, here's what I see, and you tell me if I'm seeing it clearly or not. Most of the time, when you're not on the court, I feel like it's really Anthony who's still handling the ball more than Dante, more than anybody else. Is that the intent? Is that the objective, that's the way it works best when you're not out there, or am I not seeing it clearly?
I think it's Ant's taking a lot of that responsibility. He's done a great job. I think Dante does on different opportunities. I think Julius still manages a lot too when he's bringing the ball up and a bunch of different situations. But, that whole group has a lot of handlers, a lot of guys that can initiate, and they've all done a good job of kind of taking turns and doing different things for different plays and different opportunities for different guys. We have different ball hunters bring it up, and they've done a really good job of managing that and keeping turnovers low and giving us, really, really good starts. Like I said earlier, they've just been awesome on that part.
I got an all-star game question for you. I think they made the NBA made it official that this year it's going to be the USA versus the world, although I'm confused. I think there's going to be 2 U.S. teams and then one, and it's going to be round robin, I guess, and one world team. Do you have an opinion or any advice on why it's this tough? I feel like if it's this difficult, to me, what still comes down to more than anything, effort from the players, convincing the players to take, to just play with some effort, even though it's an exhibition game, that we wouldn't have to have all these different approaches. And last year we had to have a comedy routine in the middle of the games, and who's going to play who. You've been around this league a long time, and I think you probably would remember a time when, you could get at least closer to a representative effort in the All-Star games. Is it just gone? Is it just never going to happen again? Why is it this difficult where we have to every year try to come up with a different gimmick?
Yeah, it's tough. It seems like, the years, went further and further. You get, players get in the mindset of, what matters most is obviously winning in June and being healthy in June. And
right.
You got these, the best players on those teams will be playing on All-Star Weekend, and All-Star Weekend is a lot for them. It's a lot. You're doing a lot of moving around. You're having to appear everywhere, and while the rest of the league is resting and, recovering and doing all this other stuff to get ready for the second half. So it's kind of that line, it's kind of tough to deal with for some people, and so then you don't get the most out of guys. You don't get the best effort. It's not really like you can go out there and say, hey, whoever wins gets this amount of money, and they'll be, make them play that much more harder. I'm not sure how you fix that portion of it. The guys got to want to compete in those situations, and for the most part, like I said, it's more of, guys are trying to get to the break to get healthy, and as fast as the game is nowadays, in many games, miles of guys are running in games because of the pace of play and stuff like that. I think it wears on them, and it's kind of tough to get the best out of people during those games.
Let me ask you another league-wide question. We're chatting with Mike Conley. You guys have had really, in the playoffs, really good success against Denver. Now, they made some, I think, good improvements in the offseason to give themselves, I think it's the best supporting cast that Joker has had in a while, maybe ever. But I'm just looking at, and I'm curious to know how closely you've been following this. Just his shooting alone, the last several games, 18 for 23, 16 for 19, 10 for 14, 12 for 15. There's a 7 for 10, I think, against you guys, 10 for 15. Mike, he's shooting almost 75% from the floor his last 10 games. What, when you watch him and you see him or you observe, do you think we already have reached a point where we're seeing all-time greatness in his case?
Yeah, it's unreal. We were talking about it today in practice, because obviously we're preparing to play against him, so we're kind of getting a little bit of a peek at what he's been doing lately, and you just that just doesn't happen. It's something that just emphasizes how special a player he is and how easy the game is for him. It's just I think we're all witnesses of something really, really special, and I'm thankful to get to compete against him and try to stop him. It's just unreal that he's able to do that on a nightly basis, and it barely look like he's breaking a sweat half the time. So it's unreal. Well,
it sounds like the Clippers, I heard some postgame where they said basically our plan was make him score, which is right out of your playbook, right? When you guys have had some success, it's, all right, he's most dangerous when he's distributing, when he's wheeling and dealing and involving his teammates, and we don't want to give up 50, but we might be okay giving up 35 if he's not doing that other stuff. To me, that still sounds like, at least in theory, the best approach to take with him. Do you guys look at it that way as well?
We've taken that approach quite often. I think he scored 60 on us one time trying to do that, but there's no right way, I think, to defend him. I think you got to just, his playmaking ability is probably the most deadly thing that gets their team, all their guys going, including himself. So there is some, validity to turning him into a scorer, I guess, but not necessarily letting him score. I don't know if there's two different things. We're not trying to just let him shoot up the shots. We're still trying to defend, but I guess if you could pick and choose between the two, we don't want him getting 15, 16 assists and, the other, everybody else on the team getting 20 points in games, and makes him that much harder to guard. But he's really, you don't have a good choice against him, honestly.
No, that's for sure. Last item. I saw today, I think this was today, that Jalen Clark kind of crashed your presser when you were talking about various items, including the NBA Cup. And I think he asked a question about Christmas gifts for the young players. And you said something to the effect of, well, I've spent thousands on you guys. I'm sure I'll do it again. Is that true? I mean, I didn't realize players generally, were that generous in terms of Christmas gifts. Is that a Mike Conley tradition? Is that an NBA tradition? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a tradition I do for a while. Ever since I've had the means to do it and help the team, I've always gotten the team gifts, and every year I try to think of something different. And I think last year I got them all some big boombox speakers or something like that, and
right.
some other little things. So it's like, every year you're trying to find what's gonna, be exciting for, the young people or whatnot, or everybody kind of relate to. So it's something I enjoy doing. I know a lot of teams out there and a lot of players do it. I'm trying to get, the guys who make all the money on the team, the Julius's, the Ants, these guys, Jaden's, the Nazi. You guys got to step up and start, getting the old man some gifts and stuff like that. So that'll be big.
Last question for you. You mentioned Jaden, where you're seeing his, on paper, the scoring numbers are up. And that's always been the question. Okay, if he can really figure out offensively, then there may be no telling where he can end up. Where do you see he has evolved, and how big a change do you see offensively in him, and how does that get sustained?
Well, I think he's benefited a lot from the pace of play that we're playing this year. The thoroughheads that he's getting he has full license to go downhill, get into the paint where we feel is one of the elite finishers in our game and mid-range players. And it just gives him a freedom early in, possessions to go after, try to get some opportunities. But then in the half court and in sets, he's finding, open threes and opportunities to attack where he's super, super comfortable. And he's more in the flow of the game, more in rhythm. I talked to him today about, him shooting so well from the three, and he's just like, man, I'm not rushing anymore. I'm tall enough to take my time and just shoot it. I don't, no reason to have any anxiety shooting the ball. And I think that's really, calmed him down a little bit. And it's got him playing at all-time level. He put the work in, and it's starting to show.
I appreciate the time as always. Good luck this weekend, and we'll chat soon. Thanks, Mike.
All right, sounds good.
I appreciate you. Mike Conley, Timberwolves point guard. Nice weekend of activity that will start with an NBA Cup game against one of the teams in the league that is struggling badly, mightily, the Sacramento Kings. But then you got Denver, a team that's not struggling at all, with a superstar player who has been, as we alluded to with Conley, just absolutely. Well, the numbers they almost feel like they're not real numbers. Like I said, when you take 23 shots and miss 5 in an NBA game. You take 19 shots and miss 3 in an NBA game. You take 14 and miss 4. And it goes on and on and on. His last 10 games, he's been over 500, well over 500 for any of them. He had a 9 for 10 from the floor. I think against us he was 7 for 10. He also had a 9 for 10. There's a 10 for 15 and 18 for 23. We're seeing, man, we're seeing something special. And maybe people don't even realize it because, again, there's not a lot of marketing around him. There's not a lot of fancy quotes around him. There aren't a lot of highlights of, did you see how he broke so-and-so's ankles? We're so obsessed. Somebody did that again the other day, and The Athletic had a story on it, a complete story on one play. He doesn't do that sort of stuff. But all he does is win games, and all he does is dominate and show absolutely remarkable skill. Remind me later to get to an interesting X battle that has broken out. Let's just say the Jokic brothers being challenged to the possibility of a major fight with some former NBA players. There's some really good Twitter action on that particular declaration. Let's try to do some bonus bucks right now. Better late than never.
The Fan and 2 Men at a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win those bonus bucks to the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com, the keyword bills. The keyword bills, KFAN.com, keyword bills. Buffalo Wild Wings, Lakeville. Let's feast. You can join PA, Nordo, Alec Lewis, 9 to noon tomorrow to get you set for Sunday's divisional battle with the Bears. All on enjoying great wings and chances to win prizes all morning. Doors open at 8 a.m. Full details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
612 guy writes, talk about the yin and yang of radio talk show guests. I love them both, but Conley always sounds like you just woke him up from a nap. And Salisbury, I feel like I need a nap after his interviews. Very well played. There's no question about that. Mr. Conley's much more very adult, but very understated. You handed me a soccer story that is worthy, I think, of a minute or two. We don't talk a lot of soccer on this program, but introduce to the listeners the pretty significant change that our favorite league, affecting our favorite team, has made official now, correct?
Yeah, so for years and years, the MLS would be running in the summer. That would be the bulk of their season. Well, they just approved a vote today. Everywhere else in Europe and the top leagues run the opposite. So summer's their off season, basically not June and July. That's their off season. Every other month they're playing throughout the winter. So now they've approved the MLS in order to compete financially, and they want to be on the same page as the European leagues. Now they're switching to that schedule, so they'll start in the fall and they'll end in the spring. But there's a month break of winter break in there, and that's the idea. So they're flipping their schedule.
In other words, with this new schedule, the Loons would have a game at home in January?
So unbeknownst to me, so now they have a winter break.
Okay, so how long does that go?
Like mid-December through
okay.
January. But you're still going
to hit it in February then?
You're going to hit it in early December, November.
Gotcha, yeah.
You're going to hit it in February. So there's still going to be 2 or 3 months of brutal home games. How
many other teams are in locations as unforgiving as ours when it comes to winter?
Quite a bit.
Quite a few. So you tell me, I mean, in theory, this sounds like it's illogical because I don't associate soccer with cold weather, but is this routine in Europe, or are we talking about in Europe, there are places where it's never going to be as cold as the places we're talking about here?
Well, that's what it is. Yeah. So in Europe, like in England, yeah, it's cold and 50 degrees all the time, but it's very rare that it would snow. You know, it stays around your 40s. Right. Even in January, it's in your 40s or 50s. I'm looking at the map of the MLS. You've got Toronto, Montreal, New England, a couple New York teams, Chicago, Seattle, Vancouver. I mean, those are all Denver, Salt Lake City. Those are all teams that are going to be just very, very cold.
All right. Yeah. So you're the soccer purist. I mean, can soccer, can you have any kind of meaningful soccer if it's sleeting or it's snowing or the field is slick in a way that we accept if you don't have an indoor, football stadium? That's part of the National Football League. But it seems counterintuitive that I understand what they're trying to balance, but if you're changing the competition to that degree on the basis of when you're playing these games. Isn't this going to end up being a net loss?
I mean, you would think. The difference is that you don't have to, like in football, if it's pouring, driving rain, you're going to have trouble holding onto the ball.
True.
That's not really a thing in soccer, so there is that.
Right.
But you're going to miss out on, a month and a half break from your season right smack in the middle just doesn't seem like something you would want to do.
And I'm presuming they do that because they're saying, well, we're acknowledging this is kind of goofy to do this in the winter, so we'll try to break it up a little bit and not have the entire winter to cover.
That's the idea. But again, and they say that I don't know which leagues they're referring to. Yeah. I'm sure they're there, but none of the major ones do. But they have an advantage, like in Spain and England, it just never gets as cold as this.
Yeah, that's what strikes me. So I mean, because I want to say we've already had some chilly games already for the Loons, have we not?
Well, there was a controversial one that I was at for Team USA.
Oh, that's what it was.
They played in February.
Yes, that's right.
It was like 6 degrees, and everyone was up in arms.
And you went.
Yeah.
All right, so how was the quality of soccer?
It was fine.
Was it affected by the cold?
Well, I didn't think so. I thought they toughed it out. The Honduran goalie had to leave for hypothermia.
Well, that's so good.
But other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play? It was they won 2-0, and that was that.
And their comeback is we've got to match up with the way it's done in Europe because this is the only way. This is the better way for us to succeed long term.
So if they want to, let's say there's someone that plays for my club, Tottenham.
Right.
And he's at the end of his rope and he wants to come to the MLS. It's easier for them to make the transition when the season is the same. But when we're in the off season and they're in the middle of their season, it's hard to have transfers and players come and go. That's their thinking behind it. They want to sync up with them to better align financially and make it easier for people to come and go.
All right. Well, so in the end, are you applauding as a soccer guy, even though you're not a huge fan of this particular league? You're kind of a snob in that regard, but
correct.
Do you endorse this decision, or are you troubled by it?
I just am not sure they have the quality that they think they do to be able to sync up. And I mean, maybe they do one day, but
you don't think they're there yet. Maybe they're looking for the future.
Yeah, maybe
they're trying to set it in motion.
I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze on this one because you're going to have a month and change in the middle of your season. I mean, the NHL's doing it for the Olympics, but that's once in a blue moon, and it's a couple weeks off. And even that feels like a long time. So a couple months off, I don't know. I wouldn't like it. And for the Loons too. I mean, think of ticket sales in February. Well,
how will they draw?
I don't know.
I mean, well,
get a roof?
They're faithful. I mean, the fans who are into it are pretty into it, though, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean,
don't they consider themselves hardy?
Their ultras
aren't the seats heated?
No. No.
That would help.
Yeah.
Is there any outdoor stadium in football or soccer in which the seats, not just for the beautiful people in the suites, that the seats are all heated? And how expensive would that be?
Probably not.
Prohibitive, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that'd be quite a bit.
That'd be a very popular owner, wouldn't it? To say, I'm spending all the extra money where every seat will be heated for cold games.
Not in this state.
No, I don't think that's very likely. Sustain the drive. JJ and Jettas don't jive. Dig into the NBA archive. Wolves in 5. Yeah, that pretty much says it all. Let me get to a couple more texts here, and then we'll get caught up. Don't forget, we got Russo Radio for your hockey fix at the top of the hour. Not a soccer player here, so the question is, wouldn't that hurt your foot kicking that cold ball around when it's 5 degrees?
Probably.
For an hour and a half. Yeah. Sounds to me like the MLS is trying to avoid the MLB. Similar leagues get a lot of casual fans to come out. I think they're running under the guise that, quote, they want to be in the same season as European leagues, even though there will never be in any of the European leagues. So is baseball a big juggernaut that you have to avoid? I didn't think so, but maybe in their mind they do the analytics. I don't know if they do the analytics, they do the research. I'm not exactly sure. It's an interesting development. And again, what I first thought of was the game you mentioned that you were at, that exhibition game where there was so much conversation about it. And it felt like to me, it's like, well, that's not really, soccer's not a winter sport. I don't think, even though it's played in the winter in many parts of the world, but rarely are the temperatures what we tend to get in the middle of winter as well. Let's see. One other text real quick. If I scroll down, I think I can find it. You lose the casual fan not having Loons games in the summer, and with that, they will 100% lose one of the major sponsors, as we're not going to bring guests in December or February to a game. Zero chance a casual like me brings my kid in winter. They will not be able to grow young fans. Makes no sense. Writes Andy, I wasn't going to any MLS games anyway, but good luck ever getting me to try if I have to watch guys run for 90 minutes to score once when it's 10 degrees outside, wind chill.
Did you watch Monday Night Football?
20. Well, yeah, how about that? I'm done with your
That was a 1-1 game.
I'm done with your club.
Think about it.
It's unbelievable.
I don't blame you.
I tried to stand tall for them. I thought, well, they play down to their competition. They'll play up to the Eagles. And it was winnable, obviously, but they didn't win. Dear soccer community, a little heads up from the hockey community. The Winter Classic is miserable to attend, even if tough guy hockey people will not admit it. Good luck with attendance. That's a good text right there. All right, let's get caught up. I've got a serious story that was brought to my attention by a listener that I want to try to get into this next short segment, kind of from the A section, and then we will prepare, as I said, for Russo Radio at the top of the hour.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barreiro next. Fan.
The Fan and the Vikings are teaming up for Toys for Tots. Join us live at Shields in Eden Prairie Tuesday, December 2nd from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. for our annual broadcast presented by Unreal. Bring a toy, spread some joy. If you're one of the first 50 donors for each show, you'll score a sweet KFAN Unreal Winter Beanie. KFAN.com/toys for more details.
Got this text really within about the first 20 minutes of the program from Eric M. out of Cokato. Like to hear your thoughts on the horrific tragedy that happened in Cokato, Minnesota in the early morning hours on Tuesday. I knew nothing about this story until I was alerted via the Eric text. It's mind-boggling. A man is accused of killing a coworker with a sledgehammer at a food and dairy processing facility in central Minnesota, Cokato. This is a CBS News account of said story. According to charges filed in Wright County, the deadly assault occurred Tuesday morning at Advanced Process Technologies in Cokato. At around 6 a.m., deputies responded to a 911 call reporting a woman with major head trauma and significant blood loss. Deputies and medical crews responded to the scene and attempted to save the woman's life. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities say an investigation determined that a coworker identified as 40-year-old David DeLong of Watkins, Minnesota, attacked the victim. He was taken into custody by deputies without incident. Charges filed in Wright County say DeLong was seen on surveillance video walking to the victim's workstation, grabbing a sledgehammer from the workstation, and swinging it multiple times at the victim. According to charging documents, DeLong later confessed to killing the victim, telling investigators he didn't like the victim and had planned on killing her for some time. The family of the victim identified her as 20-year-old Amber Czech, Czech. They say she was an amazing welder, great at her job, loved going to work every day. They also want to raise awareness of workplace violence. WCCO Television also spoke on Wednesday with Dennis Pichowski, who was Czech's advisor from freshman to senior year at Hutchinson High School. You just kind of tear up a little bit because you know who the kid was. Pichowski was also Czech's assistant basketball coach, noting she was known for her three-point shooting skills. Pachowski says Czech had a passion for welding, and he last spoke with her in August. I'd always kid her about, don't lose a finger, and do they trust you with a laser, all that kind of stuff. Advanced Process Technologies released a statement yesterday. We are heartbroken by yesterday's tragedy, and our thoughts are with the victim's family and friends in this terrible moment. We're also making sure our employees have the support they need, and we're working closely with law enforcement as they continue their investigation. Production at the facility has been paused for the remainder of the week, and administrative staff are working remotely. End quote. DeLong faces one count of second-degree murder, which carries up to 40 years in prison, but that charge could be upgraded. I'd be surprised if it isn't upgraded, actually, to first-degree murder. Just a grisly, gruesome story, and I'm sure it's affecting pretty much everybody in the entire town. It's just mind-boggling. Brutal story. Top of the hour break, we'll return to the toy department. You can hit us via the text, 64686 at the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. We are out at 6 o'clock today for, it's Thursday, right? So we're always out at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Vikings programming. Nobody's playing tonight, right?
There's Thursday night football.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, locally.
Yes, yeah.
In terms of teams. Thursday night football is the Jets at New England to take on the Patriots, I believe, correct?
Good luck.
Patriots are legit. Again, they got a legit quarterback, too. Russo Radio is indeed coming up next. If you have questions for him, the inbox is also available for those purposes as well.